Level 1. $15,000 a year. You are 22 years old. You work hourly shifts at a Dollar Tree store in suburban Ohio. The system does not measure your life by your ambition, it measures your existence by a spreadsheet. Your gross pre-tax income is $1,250 a month. After the minimum tax deductions are cleared, you carry home exactly $1,050 a month. The arithmetic of your survival is brutal. You have exactly $35 a day. Rent for a damp corner room with thin walls and an old mattress consumes 70% of that amount. You are left with less than $12 a day for food, gas, and every unexpected emergency. At $35 a day, you are not a consumer to the American banking system. You are an asset to be harvested, an object of automated punishment, drained by software algorithms that wait in silence for you to slip. The reality hits you on a Thursday afternoon. You are standing at the checkout counter of a Kroger grocery store, buying a single loaf of cheap bread and a tray of great value generic eggs. The total bill is $6. You swipe your card, the terminal blinks. Declined. Not because you are lazy, not because you did not show up for your shift, but because an automated $11 renewal fee for your music application cleared your account 3 hours before your biweekly paycheck could settle. The banking algorithm immediately fires an automated penalty into your ledger, a $35 overdraft fee. The price of your mistake is exactly the total amount of money you are allowed to live on for one day. The cashier sighs. She taps her fingernails rhythmically against the plastic counter, waiting for you to move aside. The person standing directly behind you stares at your outdated tray of generic eggs with obvious disdain, shifting his weight away from you as if poverty were contagious. You open your banking application. You refresh the screen twice. Nothing changes. A cold sensation seeps into your chest, and something inside you shrinks. It has nothing to do with money. The first rule, at $15,000 a year, is absolute. At $35 a day, money controls your oxygen supply. Level 2, $30,000 a year. You are 25 years old. You land a data entry position at a call center, located right next to a loud federal highway. Your gross income increases to $2,500 a month. After the taxes are cleared, you take home exactly $2,000 net a month. The new math says you now have $70 a day. You move out of the shared room and into a small studio apartment costing $1,200 a month. Once the rent is paid, you are left with exactly $40 each day to navigate the world. Your daily habits shift quietly. You transition from instant noodles to homemade packed lunches carried to work in a plastic container. At $70 a day, you are no longer invisible to the system. You become an official cog in the American office machine. The world starts treating your existence as a cheap commodity, purchased in rigid 8-hour blocks. The reality of this transaction hits at exactly 4:45 p.m. on a Friday. You are preparing to leave when your boss walks by and drops a heavy stack of files onto your cubicle desk. "This needs to be finished by 8 a.m. Monday," he says, without stopping. There is no question about whether you have weekend plans. There is no negotiation. They assume that the $70 a day payment has bought complete ownership of your mind and your time. You say nothing. You do not argue. You quietly sit down and get the work done, but you pull your soul out of your office chair at exactly 5 p.m. You log into your system and set up an automatic deduction of $13 a day. That is equivalent to $400 a month, vanishing silently into an open-ended index fund before your eyes can process the balance. Your colleagues watch your quiet routine, and they laugh. They call you stingy. They label you as eccentric. They whisper behind your back that you do not know how to invest in drinking relationships and corporate happy hours for career advancement. You smile, you say nothing, and you let them believe whatever they want. The second rule at $30,000 a year is absolute. The pressure does not disappear. It shifts from your throat to your shoulders. Level 3, $60,000 a year. You are 28 years old. You reach the median salary in the United States. To the outside world, you are finally crossing the threshold into a proper, respectable life. Your net income after taxes is $3,800 a month. The concrete arithmetic of your daily existence has shifted. You now have exactly $126 a day. To the economic engine, you are no longer a risk. You are a prime target. American credit bureaus and algorithms track your data, scan your address, and realize you finally have surplus resources left to harvest. Your front mailbox is suddenly flooded with thick, premium junk mail. Dozens of envelopes from financial institutions, offering pre-approved credit cards with credit limits of $10,000. The system is inviting you to look successful, forcing you into a rigid consumer mold. You must upgrade your lifestyle. The weight of this trap finds you on a Friday night. You attend a gathering of old college classmates at a trendy, high-end rooftop lounge in downtown Boston. An old classmate named Tyler arrives late. Tyler works in tech sales. He talks loudly over the lounge music about his new luxury high-rise apartment lease and his upcoming vacation to Tulum. He leaves the key fob to a financed European sports car, resting visibly on the marble bar. He suggests ordering premium rounds of artisanal cocktails and expensive food platters for the entire table. At the end of the night, the waiter places a heavy leather bill presenter in the center of the table. Tyler smiles and says, "Let's just split it evenly to keep things simple." Your individual share comes out to $300. That amount represents nearly 3 full days of your entire living allowance. Everyone around you immediately tosses down heavy premium metal credit cards without looking at the total. You open your wallet. Inside, resting in a slot, is the pristine gold credit card with the $10,000 limit that arrived in your mail last week. Your fingers hover over the metallic edge of the card. For 60 seconds, you do not care about your automated index fund transfers. You crave the social weapon. You want to slide that card into the leather folder to watch the approval in Tyler's eyes, to prove to the table that you are not falling behind. You crave a brief moment of validation from a room full of people you rarely see. Your hand trembles slightly over the wallet. Then, you take a slow, deep breath. You leave the gold card in its slot. You close your wallet. You look the waiter in the eye and calmly request a separate check for your single appetizer and club soda. The total is $14. The table goes quiet for a brief moment. Tyler offers a polite, slightly condescending smile. Your old friends exchange a subtle glance of quiet pity, assuming you are financially drowning in the city. You say nothing. You let them carry their assumptions home. They see an underachiever who cannot afford a night out. You see a funded exit. Not cheap. Free. The third rule at $60,000 a year is absolute. They offer you a bigger cage, and they expect you to pay for the bars. Level 4. $100,000 a year. You are 31 years old. You cross the 6-figure threshold, the mathematical mirage every working person in America spends their youth chasing. The tax engine recalibrates. After the heavy, silent machinery of progressive federal taxes, state taxes, and FICA deductions take their bite, you look at your screen. Your net income settles at $5,600 a month. The daily allowance shifts. You now hold exactly $186 every single day. You do not change who you are overnight, but the outside world decides you are a completely different human being based entirely on an automated algorithm. The screen of your smartphone flashes. The user interface of your banking application automatically turns a premium, polished gold, stamped with 2 words, preferred client. You walk into the local branch, and the teller at the counter no longer views you as a lingering liability. She smiles warmly. She drops her professional guard and greets you by your first name. Old high school acquaintances from Texas, people you have not texted, called, or thought about in 5 years, suddenly materialize out of nowhere on your lock screen. They ask how you are doing, comment on a generic photo, and then quickly pivot to pitch a cryptocurrency investment or quietly ask for a short-term loan to clear their own credit card debt. On a cold night, you walk into a high-end steakhouse in downtown Chicago. The host guides you through the soft, ambient lighting, and the waiter pulls out your leather chair with a profound, calculated reverence. You sit in the dim glow, looking at the silver utensils, and you realize a terrifying truth. The warmth, the elegance, and the kindness of American society are not natural resources. They have a precise, daily subscription price, exactly $186 a day, but you do not feel victorious. You look around and realize your circle of friends is shrinking at a frightening pace. You move into a spacious, well-lit 2-bedroom apartment in a safer zip code, but the atmosphere inside the rooms becomes too heavy. The extra space remains completely empty, and the silence is louder than the traffic outside. You learn to stop sharing any numbers with the people you used to know. You hide your achievements, because you quickly realize that your hidden success has built an invisible, unbridgeable distance between you and the room. The fourth rule at $100,000 a year is absolute. 6 figures is a door, not a destination. The world starts celebrating your money, but they still do not care about your soul. Level 5. $250,000 a year. You are 34 years old. You receive a net income of exactly $12,500 every single month. The daily arithmetic expands. You now hold over $415 every 24 hours. You live at a completely different altitude. You walk into the pristine aisles of Whole Foods on a quiet morning, dropping premium items into your basket without once looking down at the electronic price lists. The regular costs of living, the tiny calculations that used to dictate your breathing, have turned into invisible dust. When you sit down with your peers, the conversations no longer revolve around career promotions or basic needs. The vocabulary changes completely. You discuss the technical structures of reducing your W-2 income tax liability and how to optimize your real estate debt leverage across multiple properties. You are no longer trying to survive the machine. You are analyzing its gears. Then, the gravity of the economic engine resets itself. A sudden, sharp recession sweeps across America. The corporate framework begins to panic. Ryan's glamorous senior manager position is completely wiped out by the corporation overnight. Because Ryan spent years borrowing aggressively from his future to finance his daily appearances, he collapses instantly. There is no safety net. There is no hidden account in a drawer. You stand by the office window and watch a flatbed tow truck back into the concrete parking lot. The financed black BMW is repossessed by the bank while his former colleagues watch the spectacle from behind the glass. The image cracks, and the debt remains. Later that evening, the reality of the crash enters your home. Ryan sits on the sofa in your living room, his head bowed, his voice low and bitter as he looks up at you. He asks to borrow exactly $20,000 to save his suburban house from immediate foreclosure. You look at him, and the math happens automatically in your head. $20,000 represents less than 20 days' worth of your hard work and quiet savings. You open your laptop, execute the wire transfer order immediately, and close the screen without once checking the total balance of your account. You look at the man sitting on your couch, and you realize something profound. The sense of satisfaction does not exist. There is no joy in being proven right. You only feel a quiet, heavy pity for someone who is still drowning in a race you silently left long ago. The fifth rule at $250,000 a year is absolute. The higher the salary, the quieter the room. Level 6, $500,000 a year. You are 37 years old. You cross into a tier of wealth that changes the physical structure of your environment. Your monthly ledger settles into a heavy, unyielding rhythm. You take home exactly $23,000 net a month. The arithmetic of your day-to-day existence becomes silent. You have exactly $760 to spend every single day. At this level, the American financial system stops trying to sell you ordinary consumer goods. They stop flooding your mailbox with credit card offers. They stop tempting you with financed luxury sports cars. Instead, they start selling you something far more expensive. Not products, privacy. Absolute, manufactured isolation from the crowd. You pack your lives into boxes and move to a heavily guarded, gated community on the quiet outskirts of Austin, Texas. The everyday friction of the American machine disappears completely. You never see a long, exhausting line at a retail bank or an airport security terminal again. The system clears the path before you even arrive, hiding the machinery of society from your view. When a complex financial document requires your signature, you do not sit in a waiting room. A senior representative from Chase Private Client automatically drives to your private office, carrying a leather folder and a premium pen, just to collect your initials. You hire a personal certified public accountant to restructure your asset allocations. You sit in his quiet, mahogany-lined office and scan the billing invoice. The numbers are staggering. The retainer fee for his consulting services is calculated in rigid intervals. His price for every 6 minutes of conversation equals exactly 1 full week of your early starting salary when you were working hourly shifts at Dollar Tree. You stare at the paper, and a cold flash of memory hits you. The entire week of your youth that you once traded, sweating under fluorescent lights just to secure $12 a day for groceries, is now consumed by a wealthy man in a suit in the span of 600 seconds. Society looks at your accounts and treats your identity as a powerful, revered source of capital. Corporate gatekeepers speak to you with a polished, unyielding deference. But as you drive through the silent, manicured streets of your neighborhood, the hidden cost becomes clear. You look through the tinted glass of your vehicle and realize you have been completely detached from the real world of ordinary human beings. You no longer share their worries. You no longer feel their panic. You no longer understand the language of the people you left behind. You have successfully built a fortress around your life. The sixth rule at $500,000 a year is absolute. $500,000 does not buy happiness, it buys distance. Level 7, $1 million a year. You are 40 years old. The final calculation of your time settles into absolute dominance. Your net income, after the ultimate tax brackets take their final share, is exactly $45,000 every single month. The daily arithmetic reaches its peak. You now command exactly $1,500 every 24 hours, whether you sleep, walk, or remain completely silent. At this level, you are no longer an operator running inside the machinery. You are no longer navigating the corporate ladder or trying to protect your options. You have become part of the decision-making structure itself. You are the system. The way the world treats your identity shifts from polite deference to structural gravity. You sit in the quiet, glass-enclosed boardrooms of Manhattan or San Francisco, looking out at the heavy fog rolling over the city streets below. Your casual words, your subtle nods during executive reviews, now carry the unyielding weight of determining human fate. A single movement of your pen can instantly fire or keep the 200 cubicles operating silently on the lower floors. The economic engine looks to your capital and your judgment as a supreme force shaping the game itself. But the hidden cost is the total evaporation of your regular humanity. The connection breaks on a cold, late afternoon. You are leaving the financial district on foot, walking past a brightly lit Shell gas station. You stop. You see a 22-year-old man standing by a pump under the harsh fluorescent glare. He is carefully counting down faded dollar bills and copper change just to fill his rusty, dented sedan with exactly $15 worth of gas. His smartphone screen is severely cracked and shattered across the glass. He is hastily eating a generic convenience store snack between his shifts to save every single penny. You stand completely frozen on the concrete sidewalk for a moment. You look through the dim air, and you see yourself exactly 18 years ago. But the physical sensation is completely numb. The psychological disconnect is total. It is permanent. The vivid memory of your own rejected card at the register, the suffocating fear of the $35 overdraft penalty from back then, it no longer triggers a pulse in your veins. It feels like a distant story from a foreign country you briefly lived in as a child. You remember the facts, you recognize the images, but you can never recapture the actual feeling of that survival panic ever again. The version of you that understood the value of a dollar bill has been entirely replaced by a calculated architecture. The seventh rule at $1 million a year is absolute. Money stops measuring your worth. It starts measuring your reach. The frame cuts sharply. The glass towers of the financial district dissolve into the dark, and the rain falls on a different, forgotten piece of asphalt. You are back in the Kroger parking lot. You are 22 years old. The interior of the vehicle is freezing. The screen of your phone is fractured, casting a jagged blue light across your face as you wait hopelessly, refreshing the Chase application twice. The terminal inside is still blinking. The cashier is still waiting. The line of strangers behind you is still watching. All for a few dollar loaf of bread that your bank balance refuses to clear. The outside world looked through the cracked window of your old sedan and recorded a definitive judgment. They looked at your faded coat and saw a complete failure, a permanent casualty of the American race. And back then, you believed them. You sat alone in the quiet vehicle and truly believed your entire human value was dictated by the numbers printed on an annual paycheck. But everyone was wrong. This was never really about the salary. It was about distance. At $15,000 a year, money was the ultimate dictator. It decided exactly what you were allowed to eat, where you could safely lay your head to sleep, and how many inches of your own dignity you had to shrink just to survive for a single 24-hour day. At $1 million a year, the math changes its purpose. Money no longer measures your worth to the world. It measures the terrifying gap, the vast cold space between the architect sitting in the boardroom and the desperate 22-year-old kid who once calculated his entire existence down to exactly $12 a day. Not wealth, separation. The final entry in the ledger is this. Every number changes how the world looks at you, but the most dangerous numbers are the ones that change what you can no longer feel.